Next, we have the show Arthur, one that I remember from my childhood as well. The show about a lovable aardvark. I was waiting because, well, first of all, I didn't mean to misgender the horses. That's actually not a horse. That's a unicorn, it would seem. Pushing drag queens and pansexuals. Do you know what a typical plot for Blue's Clues used to be? Steve, who was the guy.
Are your kids coming home with ideas you've never heard of? Talking about things that seem way too adult? The culprit might be right in your living room. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video, and in this video we're exposing the hidden messages in today's children's shows, and we're giving you the tools to navigate this new landscape of kids entertainment. Remember when kids' shows were just about losing glue sticks and learning to tie your shoes? Those days are long gone, my friends. Now, your little ones are getting a whole lot more than ABCs and 123s from their favorite cartoon characters. Take Arthur, for example. This lovable aardvark used to teach us about friendship and dealing with annoying little sisters. But in recent episodes, they're tackling heavy stuff like racism and same-sex marriage. I mean, come on, do 8-year-olds really need a lesson on sexual orientation with their after-school snack?
The primary goal now is to ensure that the children in the audience adopt the correct political and ideological viewpoints. That was downright quaint and conservative in comparison to what you normally get from kid shows these days. We had kid shows, which the interesting thing about kid shows is that they were shows for kids. That's what they were for.
And it's not just Arthur. Blue's Clues, that adorable puppy we all grew up with, now has episodes about pride parades and gender identity. Talk about a clue that things have changed. But the real kicker? My Little Pony. Yeah, those colorful horses aren't just prancing around anymore. They've got lesbian couples trotting across the screen. Who would have thought Equestria would become the new frontier for LGBTQ+ representation? It's like these shows have flipped a switch. Instead of focusing on pure entertainment and simple life lessons, they're pushing social messages left and right. And let's be real, some of these topics are way over kids' heads. Do we really expect a 5-year-old to grasp the complexities of systemic racism? So what's driving this change? Why are kids' shows suddenly more concerned with social justice than slapstick comedy? Well, according to Matt Walsh, it's all about indoctrination. He says, the primary goal now is to ensure that the children in the audience adopt the correct political and ideological viewpoints.
Those views that are in keeping with the mainstream beliefs of our culture, and by that I mean incorrect. So by correct, I mean incorrect. But you know how bad it's gotten? That was the tamest thing we saw. Next, we have the show Arthur, one that I remember from my childhood as well, the show about a lovable aardvark.
Yikes! Sounds like these cartoon characters are less interested in making kids laugh and more interested in making them think the right way. But here's the million-dollar question. Is this stuff actually new, or are we just noticing it more now? I mean, kids' shows have always had messages, right? But there's a difference between sharing is caring and let's talk about non-binary identities. It's like they've cranked the dial from subtle life lessons to full-on woke propaganda. So next time you plop your kid in front of the TV for some harmless entertainment, you might want to take a closer look. That cute little cartoon character might be serving up a lot more than you bargained for. And who knows, you might end up learning a thing or two yourself, whether you want to or not.
Anyway, he's lost a bit of his charm now that he's pushing critical race theory. I was waiting because, well, first of all, I didn't mean to misgender the horses. That's actually not a horse. That's a unicorn, it would seem.
I can't believe someone would be hurt like that just because they're black. Racism is so unfair.
So you think your kids are just zoning out to some harmless cartoons? Yeah, think again. There's a whole secret lesson plan hiding in those colorful pixels, and it's got some parents freaking out. Let's talk about this hidden curriculum that's sneaking into your living room. It's not just about teaching kids their ABCs anymore. Nope, these shows are trying to shape how kids think about the world. And let me tell you, it's causing some serious drama. On one side, you've got people saying this stuff is great. They're all like, oh, kids need to learn about real world issues. But then you've got the other side screaming, leave our kids alone.
No one should ever judge someone by the color of their skin. But how could it happen here in Elwood City?
Pushing drag queens and pansexuals. Do you know what a typical plot for Blue's Clues used to be? Steve, who was the guy. And there, Mrs. Grady, if I could. Mrs. McGrady, whatever your name is. Why does it keep happening? Well, for the same reason that unicorns keep shitting on your roof.
It's like a WWE SmackDown, but with angry parents instead of wrestlers. So what kind of stuff are we talking about here? Well, it's not exactly light viewing. We're talking gender identity, sexuality, racism. You know, all those fun topics you definitely want your 5-year-old thinking about, right? I mean, who doesn't want their kid coming home from kindergarten and asking about non-binary identities? But here's the thing, kids aren't little adults. They don't process this stuff the same way we do. Some experts are saying that while it's cool to teach kids about being nice and accepting, hitting them with heavy topics like sexual orientation might be a bit much. It's like trying to teach a toddler calculus. They're just not ready for it. And let me tell you, some parents are not having it. They're pushing back hard against this trend. They're saying, hey, how about we stick to teaching kids simple stuff like sharing and being kind, you know, the basics. But nope, apparently that's not good enough anymore. Now we need preschoolers debating systemic racism over their juice boxes.
And almost none of them have any connection to racism. What does race even exist in the Arthur universe?
You can't just invent a holiday, Arthur.
Well, sure you can.
And yet the people behind Arthur want small children to imagine they live in a country where black people are being killed left and right.
The real question is, what's this doing to our kids? Are these shows going too far or not far enough? I mean, are we raising a generation of super woke toddlers, or are we just confusing the hell out of them? It's like 1 minute they're watching a cute puppy solve mysteries, and the next they're getting a crash course in LGBTQ+ issues. Talk about whiplash. And let's be real, most kids that age are more concerned with whether they can have ice cream for dinner than understanding complex social issues.
And it's just one more reason why you should turn the TV off. Send your kids outside. The lesbian unicorns, they're not even into like BDSM or anything. There's no subplot where one of them gets a sex change. This is old-fashioned. Bloody their noses a little bit. Minor injuries await them outdoors, but at least they'll still have their souls. Really? That's how bad it's gotten.
But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe your 4-year-old is ready to tackle the intricacies of gender identity. Who knows? All I'm saying is, next time you hear that catchy theme song start up, you might want to pay a little more attention to what's actually playing on that screen. You might be surprised at what you find. So here's the deal. You think you know kids' TV? Think again. Just like the light bulb wasn't really Edison's brainchild, the shows your kids are watching aren't what you remember. They're not just learning their ABCs anymore. Nope, they're getting a crash course in social issues that'll make your head spin. You know how much time little kids spend glued to the screen, a whopping 32 hours a week for the 2 to 5-year-olds. That's basically a full-time job of cartoon watching. And trust me, they're not just zoning out. These shows are shaping how they see the world, whether you like it or not. So next time you hear that annoyingly catchy theme song, take a closer look. What are they really selling your kids? It might not be what you signed up for. Just saying.